The camouflaged Imperial official, folks. All right, we've had our finest time to return for more legends from the ladders. That's right, top of the leaderboard. Tippity top as we get DeMusliM versus Leenocks GF, who's not Leenocks' girlfriend. It's actually Leenocks wearing a wig, catfishing me on the internet. Let's not worry about that detail and how that come to fruition, though. Let's focus on the game because it's going to be here in French Pass, where we get to see some Chinese versus Rus. Interesting as well. Like, when I think back to release days of this game, this is kind of the go-to civs, right? I feel like DeMusliM, there was kind of a mixture of Mongols in there, but I always think back to him spamming hard into the Rus, especially in the 3v3 tournament. And then Leenocks, when he hopped in back in like November, December, this was the civ that he really loved. He gravitated hard towards the Chinese, and he was fully invested in it. Very much a kind of late game exploitive type player on the Chinese. That, of course, evolved over time, but it's just cool to see, like, after all this time, in my mind, just like what I think of these two players as, right? Like this was El Clasico from these two. So let's see what El Clasico can do in the modern age of Age of Empires 4. Because, of course, right now, at the time of recording, these guys, as I said, are tippity top shape. In fact, Leenocks, I believe, has 2 of the top 5 accounts in the world. Yep, Leenocks GF is in 3rd. Leenocks is in 4th. Meanwhile, DeMusliM sunk a little bit, down in 13th at the time of recording. But you can see that this, like I said, it's the top leaderboards. These are the most experienced players, the most talented players. And you know this one's going to deliver either way. First of all, though, it's kind of interesting to think how little we see French Pass. I don't know if there was some issues around map generation bugs that were causing it to not be used competitively, but I don't remember the last time I actually saw it in a tournament. I probably would have to go all the way back to the Winner Stays On series. I haven't seen it in Golden League, of course, for round 1 because it was open battlefields. I don't recall really seeing much of it in M4C. Was it even in there? I'm not even sure if it was allowed. So it's kind of crazy how rare this map seemingly has become. Some of them are more obvious, right? Like maps such as, let's say, Archipelago, Warring Islands. Those ones are a given, right? People just don't. Like, it's not allowed. It's banned from tournaments. It's never used. People dodge it, and it even got removed from the queues alongside things like Black Forest. But French Pass has always been there. A lot of people do admittedly just dodge it because of the ease of walling in. I think the other issue, especially from a competitive standpoint as to why it's not a desirable map to have, is every once in a while, you're just going to get those weird generations where there's a pass through the center of someone's mountain. And that's an unfair advantage either way. Because whichever player sees it first will utilize it, right? Whether it's to sneak in your opponent's base or sneak out past your opponent's defenses. So that's another reason. I think once that generation gets tweaked, maybe it sees a resurgence. But overall, I kind of understand the issues around walling, just making this very frustrating to play. Maybe once we get the change to the castle ages required for stone walls, things change a little bit so we can see more kind of feudal tempo aggression. But as it stands right now, it's just not seen as a desirable map. It could be interesting to watch these two players, though, because they are probably going to be playing by tournament rules, right? Everyone who's training right now is logically just training under the same restrictions that are applied in Golden League, simply because it makes sense. And one of those restrictions is that you cannot build stone walls until you are in Castle Age. But not going to stop you from building 4 5-power walls. So DeMusliM, he's actually snuck onto his opponent's side of the map for this as well. He's carving up a lot of territory for himself, and Leenocks is unlikely to scout this early on. Because instead, he's focused fully on economy, as you usually are as the Chinese. Unless you tech up, once you see that tech up as DeMusliM, that's when you anticipate maybe some horsemen come out, maybe there's some prowling force. But as long as your opponent's in Dark Age, you have little thought towards aggression coming out from the Chinese. Because understandably, instead, what's their choice? They go for maybe racks into spearmen and then outpost rush? It feels a little bit dicey. The alternative is you invest heavily into Imperial officials at this stage in the game, and you min-max your economy as you're seeing him do right now, supervising both the lumber camp and the mill, which will give him the required gold quantity via the tax to build into the Imperial Academy. And that Imperial Academy is structured in a way that it will maximize the mill. And this is cool. This means now this Imperial official is not only the supervisor, he's the taxer. He can supervise, and then when enough tax is accrued, he can simply pick up, instantly drop off behind him, and then return to supervision duty with little to no missing equity in terms of the additional 20% gather rates that you get from supervising. And Golden Gate now being built up. So DeMusliM has got 5 people working on this. Kind of a standard opening. Nothing too out of the ordinary. I don't think we're ever really going to see Kremlin. Kremlin only seems to make sense if you're going for maybe a hard feudal ram rush timing for the extra wood, but even then it just doesn't save you much. It only saves you 175 wood. The only time I actually like Kremlin is when players look for the aggressive Kremlin drop in their opponent's base, but like outpost rushing is really finicky and hard to make work as the Rus because of the high barrier to entry of 175 wood per structure. Not to mention the additional 5 seconds to build those structures. And look at the villager pool. DeMusliM. He's going for the ball play. Even on French bars. And it is scouted, so Leenocks sees this fully. Interesting. How will he address this is the real question. Can he? Because right now, honestly, in this location, DeMusliM could just wall himself in. This is the interesting part about the ball strat on a map that's already got choke points like this. You can just 4 or 5 palisade wall both sides, and there's no access. Also, the cool thing, because he went for the northern side first and walled this in, if he now does it here, he's enclosed Leenocks, and Leenocks going to waste a lot of time breaking out due to the fact that you have 4 or 5 palisade walls, which are even more effective than the normal wooden structure which blocks the way, right? It's doubly effective. But Leenocks sneaking around. Oh, but he's going to be too late with this outpost. However, the outpost location might be able to snipe villagers off as they try to drop off. But look at the move. The timing to DeMusliM. Oh my god, he's going to block it out. And with shivs, he can just stab him down before they can construct the outpost, but he needs to react right now. They're in. And DeMusliM, he realizes too late. He's on the ball. He's building up the walls. I don't even think he sees this just yet. He definitely hasn't reacted to it. The shot's coming out. Villagers. Just out of range. That's going to force him to rush out with shivs. I don't know if this is going to be quick enough, though. Shivs are out. Needs the assist of the scouts as well. Yes, it is. Oh, my god. Oh, he's using the crooks trick. Wow. Oh, that's so dirty. The villagers aren't meant to do that much damage. That's a bug. DeMusliM shivs his opponent down due to the bug. For those wondering what I'm talking about, notice the 12 damage on these villagers. That's unintended. There's this weird behavior right now that, as far as I can tell, it's to do with attacking sheep that causes your villagers to do 12 damage instead of their defaults, as you can see on these other villagers, right? So by default, your village should not be doing 12 damage. Obviously, for logical balancing reasons. But there's this weird behavior right now to do with attacking sheep that if you do it the correct way, and apparently it's very hard to emulate. I haven't tested myself. I've just seen some players talk about it because it was discussed on whether it be allowed for Golden League. The reason they didn't outright ban it, by the way, is because it's hard to track whether it was an accident or not. But it basically over than doubles your damage on your villagers and allows you to easily win villager trades, as you just saw there. Because that outpost with the Chinese build speed would have went up. Had it not been for the fact that these crooks here brought a gun to a knife fight. Now scouts are going to force an outpost to be constructed defensively. So Leenocks right now just kind of starved out, frustrated as well, surely by what just happened there. Because his opponent does have the eco lead, but he goes for the second TC, so he will boom up. The concern is he's going to have to come out to address this soon, because right now DeMuslim's kind of getting the cake and eating it. That's what this ball really is for him. It's a full staging point from which he can build a base, but he's also getting huge gathering rates at this stage in the game. And also, look at the gold. He's actually got a lot of equity on this map. There's a second Boeing snipe as well. He won't be able to unlock the tier 3 bounty system, but it's still almost 400 surplus gold in his early game economy, which is going to propel him forward to a more aggressive timing than Leenocks is prepped for. Imperial official count now is up to the full 4. I'm not used to seeing this after watching some Bronze Barbarians games. But he's definitely min-maxing. This is really important as well. You have to keep in mind what you're essentially doing is you're bolstering this resource for an extra 20% before you have to move out to more dangerous locations. So it's really efficient. A lot of people don't necessarily clock this quick enough because it's it seems obvious, but it's not until someone says it out loud. But think about the comparison between the Chinese and the HRE. The HRE get double the gathering buff, right? They get a 40% gathering buff while you get 20% additional on drop-off. But the difference is that you're taking this very finite resource and increasing it by 20%. An HRE player, by comparison, or someone better gathering rates, by comparison, isn't increasing that finite resource. They're just extracting it quicker. And that means the risks associated with this is that you have to move out to dangerous locations faster than you'd like. Whereas the cool thing about civs like the Chinese is they condense their economy for longer because they make this resource last longer. Sec up complete. DeMusliM really exploiting his timings here. Leenocks is going to be slower behind him, but remember, he's going to be able to be villager booming up. Hasn't gone for the Barbican Sun, but not really a great location for him to drop it in. It might just be worth getting it simply for the increased production rate on the villagers anyway. And you can see that he doesn't have any good options to the way that he's been limited. And DeMusliM will move out for the second board. So 2 proxy expansions here. Interesting choice. Doesn't bait towards the wood line, so he's not getting additional value. But this wood line definitely generates his bang for buck. 40 gold per minute, only on tier 2 bounty. I know some people still haven't clocked it. I was confused at the time. Leenocks GF is Leenocks. It's either Leenocks looking for a girlfriend, or it's the version of Leenocks that puts on a pretty wig and sings to us at night. No, just me? Okay. Not exactly the Great Wall of China, but a wall nonetheless. Will buy some time. Prevents any potential easy aggression. As he understands that there is a no man's land that must set in between the two. But Leenocks has surrendered a lot of land here. And DeMusliM is not slowing down. Like, this is the concern. Leenocks still hasn't teched up. DeMusliM is already racing forward. He's got up in a castle. He's now producing into the warrior monks. And with those warrior monks, he will get all the relics because this is an outrage. This generation is disgusting here. 3 relics in the center. Wow, look at that. That's balanced. Mwah, fantastic. You would think. Until you look where the other 2 are. That is incredibly one-sided. It doesn't get much more one-sided than this. DeMusliM has access to all 5 relics, and Leenocks denies none. And there's the tech up finally, so Leenocks will reach into Castle Age, and he's already prepping for Lancers by the looks of it, as opposed to going for the Palace Guard. Interesting choice here. Palace Guard, feel like they could get better bang for buck. But if he breaches these walls, I think the logic is that if he goes into Lancers, he can instantly raid deep into the economy lines. While if he went for Palace Guard, while they are quicker than their man-at-arms counterparts, they're maybe slow enough that DeMusliM gets a second line of walls up in quick stead. While Lancers potentially give you the momentum to push forward past the initial wall and then access the back lines before DeMusliM has defenses in place. Scout, getting some vital vision here. No way for DeMusliM to deny this. It's going to be frustrating. It means that Leenocks is going to be able to snitch. He's going to see what's coming. And this is going to make him feel confident. Although he'll see the relics being gathered up, he'll know whether his opponent went multi-TC, whether he's strong-arming military, and what he'll most importantly spot out about DeMusliM is that he's going greed without going multi-TC. Instead, he's looking to rush Imperial Age. We can see it on the numbers right now. As he gathers up these relics, he'll passively get the gold, and his food is stabilized due to the double ball. And he really is for going all military right now. So Leenocks might have an opportunity to strike if he starts to scale an economy into military force right now. But the key detail is he can't just eco-boom himself. Otherwise, he's going to be playing an age behind. You can see how he's trying to play catch-up. And when we look at the income per minute, he is exceeding DeMusliM's food. But DeMusliM is already just about ready for Imperial Age. But overall, Leenocks should feel pretty confident about the state, right? Like, he's not being hard-pressured. I wonder if DeMusliM gets the best value out of rushing Imperial like this. Because it feels like Leenocks is going to be able to do similarly. And he's going to have a better scaling economy as the game goes on, right? Because while you do have a lot of power in these boars, after the boars are gone, like, you're depleted to an extent. And that's why when we look into Leenocks' base with the farm transition, he's already prepped. But don't worry, folks. DeMusliM will not be left behind. He goes for the second TC now. This isn't going to compare to the lead already built up by Leenocks, but it is at least going to stabilize the difference. And the cool thing is because Leenocks is not playing towards the relics and DeMusliM is, if he garners all 5 of these relics, even 4 of them, that's effectively 10 or 12.5 villages, which when you look at the difference between these two, almost completely gap closes it. There's still a slight lead for Leenocks, but it's not as dominant as it should be. And it looks like he might get all those relics, just 1 left. And I don't think there's any sort of religious play. No, so Leenocks understands that his time is going to be too late, and he cannot contest on the relics. And double Sacred Site as well. So that lead decreases even further, right? So now you've got to consider that he's got 5 additional villages. So overall, DeMusliM's going to have 17.5 villages. And when you look at the difference there, they're almost equal at that point. It's really strong. And consider the fact that the Barbican Sun was never built, right? So when we look at the villager production rate, Leenocks never improved it to the 13-second mark. Interesting that he still hasn't chosen to do that, considering that for 600 resources, it's a desirable outcome. And although he has the glorious 69 economy, there's still a lot more economy to be built.
这是我努力的成果。
Иди трудиться, надо внесуть.
Now villagers extending out. The question is whether you maybe consider a third TC just to reach the central resources quicker. I kind of like the play, and then you keep some of your central the back resources as reserves while playing towards the center area, because there's a lot of value here. And instead, DeMusliM for the moment, it's high armory, it's underway. Tech up complete first by Leenocks, as he did sneak the Spirit Way at the back and left room to build plenty of structures around it. Remember the Spirit Way, the way it works, any landmark type dynasty locked units that you produce out of this out of any buildings rather close by, will have a 30% reduced cost. So, for example, if you build stables here, you build Lancers, or you build Shuk Nu, they're going to be 30% cheaper. It's very efficient play for later on in the game. It's what can make the Chinese a very serious powerhouse civ in the late game, just because they're able to efficiently utilize their economy much better than other civs can. I'm wondering how long we're in now. DeMusliM has to have been at this for like 4 minutes, 5 minutes maybe? Nah, it wouldn't have been 5 minutes. Maybe 3 to 4, I feel like, on the Sacred Site. I wish they'd add this. It still frustrates me. I'm jealous as well because the overlay that gets used by official tournaments actually has it, but we don't. Hopefully, we get that very soon. But it does mean that Leenocks has to move out very quickly here. Has got the Clock Tower Bombard, so we'll be able to breach on the north side. And this is one of the frustrating things about defending French Pass for a Sacred Site victory. It's so far apart. And you can see the effect, right? And this is well identified. I don't know how Leenocks 100% knew that his opponent built the siege workshops on this side, but it means that the siege is completely out of position, and it means by the time he gets it in position, you would have breached the walls. The bombard will not take too long. More wooden fortresses being built. DeMusliM needs time. Still just supervising as well. Wait. Well, you can tell that the Chinese are rich when they literally bury their imperial officials in gold. Okay, it's not in gold. The camouflaged imperial official, folks. Whack-a-mole officials right there. He finally comes out. We'll move across to a new gold line. But will he once again be able to hide beneath the ground? Tune in next week when we find out. Oh no. He's no longer just a floating eye. He's once again an imperial official. I'm disappointed. I don't like, honestly. Some of the bugs in this game. It's sad because we have a competitive scene, but it's also still so funny. Just because of how clowny some of them are. Bombard's breaching. Sprinkles need to be careful. DeMusliM, has he gone for the banded? Yes, so he's got the full range. He can snipe here, but oh, mistakes made. Lets the bombards get too close. Doesn't even get a shot fired back at them, and the pass guard are in. DeMusliM, strong holding point here. With the wooden fortresses, with the keeps, but he needs a way of addressing the bombards. The bombards are becoming an issue. 12 tile range compared to your 13.5. So you see it's a thin margin, and that thin margin means that actually Leenocks has a big edge because of the health difference. 720 versus the 240. And while you do 120 damage per shot from the Sprinkles, these bombards by default do more with 204 per shot. And the numbers are increasing. And remember what we said, DeMusliM has an issue here because these Sprinkles have to roll all the way across the map, completely displacing them, but more importantly, taking so long to respond. The only good side is because he double layered onto the 4-5 walls on the south side, it's unlikely that Leenocks will make a move there. Leenocks, a little bit OCD about it, says all the walls must die. And he's going to go for the 4 keep drop. Where are the villagers being pulled from there? Not too many. So this could actually be denied if the DeMuslim's quick to react. Sprinkles showing their range, superiority there. The bombards, of course, being much slower because it looks like someone... Huh. No, he's actually got everything he can. These bombards felt a little bit slow for the greased axles. My mistake. No, he actually did already have it. I forgot 0.75 because they start so damn slow. And look at the repair crew. It just denies him. Ay, ay, ay. Frustrating state of affairs right there. There's so many wooden fortresses from DeMusliM. I just don't know if it's going to save him. He's slowly retreating. It feels like Leenocks is actually making a rapid approach towards the Sacred Site. He's forced him to hold, and he needs troops in the field quickly, which is why he's trying to muster as many with archery ranges. But the movement in, Pasgard, quick to gap close here. 1.38 will give him the close, and straight into the Springolds. Villagers forced to fight. Some of them might have their 12 damage, but that's not going to be enough to protect them. Springolds slowly but surely being taken out one by one by the quantity of Palace Guard. Wooden Fortresses just as quickly with the bombards here. Fort Keep will be established, and Leenocks is slowly breaking through. DeMusliM, the gluttony starts to show. The lack of military force is what he's being punished for. No crossbows, no quick answer. Trying to go into Streltsy now, but the Palace Guard are somewhat overwhelming. And with only one archery range here, DeMusliM will not be able to produce enough troops to hold. Big problem here. All 4 buildings going to be dropped. DeMusliM, the win conditions changed. And he needs to change fast with it. This villager pull, it doesn't feel like it's going to do enough. Good luck ever getting any of it up. Archery range is going to be denied once more. He needs to wall himself in. He needs to buy time right now. He also needs to wall across the center and set up new military infrastructure on the front, and that's why he's underway with the archery ranges now. The plan is still to go Streltsy, but he needs them quicker than he was looking for last time. You see the issue with Dealer's Wheels here. You know, these siege weapons are so slow to move across, and this is the fragile state of this map. When you try to play the strategy, it can be very difficult if you're not able to apply pressure. If you're not breaching into your opponent's base, you're guarding one side, right? It's very hard to easily reach a state where you're guarding both sides amply against a full-on assault from your opponent. The only way that you can easily kind of pin an opponent in this state is if you're then aggressing in. You need to potentially sacrifice the sacred sites, with the trade-off being I'm sieging into their base. But because DeMusliM never pushed out, because he never reached a critical mass of siege with frontline infantry to push out, it means that he's completely displaced. He can't react to these plays. It's that kind of comparative when we talk about infantry-type formations, right? If you're on an open map like Dry Arabia and your opponent goes cavalry, you're screwed unless you can directly push through the center quickly. And that just wasn't an option. Instead, Leenocks is now flooding in. Straight in with the Palace Guard. On top of the siege. Tries to protect him. 1 or 2 Streltsy is not going to be good enough, and it's going to be a good trade again for Leenocks, as he'll clean up most of the siege battalion and finish off any Streltsy stragglers that are lying around here. And onto the gold he goes. Big gain to Big Lee. Benny boy. He changes the territory on the map. He carves up less this time around in the negotiations, as he's going full defensive. But he can't afford to give over the south side. The high armory is big for him. Although soon it's going to be a big pile of nothing as the bombards are all in. Bombards that counter out everything. No answer clearly for DeMusliM. He doesn't have Springles anymore. Magos are going to be taken down. More Palace Guard coming through. And this is about to turn into 10-pin Streltsy. As one by one, these bowling balls are going to hit hard if the Streltsy try to run forward, so they have to back away. All the siege workshops going down. High armory won't last long after that. And DeMusliM is in trouble. Leenocks has really turned this game around. The timing was perfect. He didn't rush before he was ready. And that's to his credit. A lot of players would have panicked and rushed out when they saw this Sacred Site timer, but not Big Lee. He keeps his composure and he keeps his control. And one Springer will not offset him from the aggression. Streltsy targeting out the Palace Guard. Palace Guard will be forced back, but all of the siege potential is gone for DeMusliM. High armories in ruins, 3 siege workshops alongside it. That's 900 wood effective down the drain. And now the Palace Guard march in. DeMusliM really needs to peel off here. Going for the garrison, but I don't think that's a safe garrison. The Palace Guard are waiting with open arms. They'll give hogs over. Although those hogs seem to sting a little. As they club into the villages, bombards will continue to just snipe out all these buildings. And with more coming forward, doubling the effective siege count, this fort base for DeMusliM is about to fold. Palace Guard will try to look for the trade on the Springer. Not enough of them left. Plenty of Springer building, plenty of Streltsy rather building up, but the curious detail that matters here really is the bombards. These bombards can insta-kill each of these Streltsy. However, they are out of position right now. Leenocks will look to respond. Villagers moving forward as well. Needs to turn and burn onto the hand cannoniers. The Streltsy need to start falling. One bombard goes down. The other ones are actually targeting the villagers instead of going for the more pricey Streltsy. And this unit is premium. It's doing a lot of damage here. In fact, I think it's doing more damage than the torches, to be honest. Bombards will start to roll away. Remember, the Streltsy have short range and are slow movers. Palace Guard taking advantage of that stab in the side. But he wants those good trades. The problem is the clock tower effect makes them so stupidly tanky. The only good news for DeMusliM is that Leenocks isn't reacting quick enough. That means he will end up losing the siege. So breathing room gained by DeMusliM. He needs to rebuild this landmark quickly, and that's why he pulls 20 villages to the front. Needs to re-establish control. Actually needs to start raiding in as well. The issue that DeMusliM now has is he's fully reactionary. You need to be proactive, not reactive. And right now, because of the way that Leenocks moving, he's forcing constant reactions out of DeMusliM, and they become suboptimal as the game continues on. Especially considering that now, with this move, Leenocks has took dominant control of the majority of gold in the center. Remember the design of French Pass envelops this whole idea of gold, right? The whole limiting factor is meant to be that you have very finite amounts of gold veins in your own base. After that, you have to contest in the center. And if this now turns into a resource slog, notice the difference is that one player has access to 2 of the gold veins, the other has 5. Not to mention that central wood line. That's the one good side for DeMusliM, actually. Is something that's kind of wacky about these generations a lot. It tends to favor wood spawns on the south side, not so much on the north. So in this trade, the thing that DeMusliM did get in his favor is he's had this wood at his disposal the whole time. The concern is still going to be gold as this game continues on, though. And Leenocks, oh, he's seen. Tries to be a sneaky boy. And he's going to be punished, butchered as he tries to run by. Not enough villages to really do much with, but meanwhile, in the north, there is a breach. Leenocks is moving through with a sizable force of Palace Guard. And he also sees all the activities. Did go for the Imperial Palace, so it's time to turn these lads into 2-legged cavalry. Palace Guard moving in at 1.58 movement speed. Too quickly for you to quick wall up. They're getting round. They're getting in. They block it. He can't stop it. He's in. Leenocks, time to go deep. He'll club down as many villages as possible, split up to look for clues because there is no force to hold him back. DeMusliM surrenders over more ground, but Leenocks is not entertained. He'll take more. And so deep he goes, looking for whatever he can find. Keep was denied on the back foot. The villagers' force that snuck in won't be able to get their value there. But now he can burn these TCs down. Remember, only 2,400 HP as they are secondary ones. And the villager force out of location, not able to prevent this. That's one town center down. Scalability is going to be denied away from DeMusliM. And DeMusliM is still playing catch-up compared to the Chinese here. 130 villages versus about 100 here. Actually, 90. As DeMusliM continues to shrink in eco size. As these Palace Guard are being ignored. And yes, you have textiles, but they hurt. They sting. 19 damage per club. And they do swing quickly. Farms, everything being burned. I love the way Leenocks identifying this. Limiting resource now is wood. So he needs to force DeMusliM's hands into bad trades with that. And Streltsy will be sidestepped, but this is the issue. Your Streltsy don't do anything anymore. Like, he's using the double time for the 1.46 movement speed. Meanwhile, Palace Guard 1.58. Permanently. So you can never gap close them. They can always just run away. And when they run away, they're a pain in the arse. I don't think they're swinging for the arse here. They're definitely swinging at the head. As the villagers are just flopping to the ground so quickly. After all that, Leenocks, look at this, 129 villages to the 75. The Muslim ship is quickly sinking. And he really needs to find a way to repair the hull quickly. That hull that's about to be breached again as the bombard breaks the walls. And the horsemen, the transition, Leenocks, too quick. Not even horsemen. It's something we haven't seen in so long. The Fire Lancer battalion's back. And someone call the fire department because DeMusliM is about to have a lot of fires to extinguish. Wrap around, ignores the Strelts. He says, that's not my concern. He could go for the splash damage or he could go for the burn effect. And you know what he wants. Clumped up villages so he can go mwah, 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 and just insta-blitz them. Straight in onto the farms. He's denying it all. Economy starved DeMusliM. This is such a smart play. Look at the numbers. Leenocks understands how stretched his opponent is. After the heavy hit to the eco losses, he has to be bleeding on the food. I mean, he really is. It's under 100 at all times. He can never produce units quick enough. Fire Lancers will wrap in onto the spring walls now and burn them down very fast. And although he didn't find the maximum impact he was looking for, it's still damage done. DeMusliM is still being dragged back towards his base, never able to push out and punish Leenocks. And I can't believe he's actually making Fire Lancers look half decent here. But my oh my, is it turning around, and you can see that he's getting his bang for buck. And he's ready to do something that rhymes with buck here. As is very effective cost-wise. 84 food, 14 wood, 14 gold. And it's just so disposable for him, right? That's the important detail. When I read that again, what resource does it cost the most of? Food. What's he never running out of? Well, my lord, he has 1,000,001 farms. The crop gathering season has been good for Big Lee. And although he might still be looking for a girlfriend, I don't think he's going to have to look too hard to get a victory here up against DeMusliM. As the poor ball boy is starting to shrivel in the face of this onslaught. And this onslaught is going to be renewed. Now, he might have some saving grace here. Hot oil does burn, but I don't think it burns as quickly as bombards plus fire lances. Watch the damage, folks. Boiling oil gets poured. Does he burn it down? No, he rides past. He sees the villager line. Straight in. Splash damage coming out. Big mistake made. DeMusliM runs towards him. Headbutts the lances. Not an effective tool here. And he is going to be eviscerated on the front. And DeMusliM can't afford this. Look at the gold as well. Less than 200. Bombard sniping out the keeps quickly. Fire lancers raiding around, looking for anything they can burn into the ground. And they will burn the keeps. Look at this damage. 40 torch per torch. Woo! Good lord. Well, I've heard of the Great Fire of London, but I never heard of the Great Fire of the Rus Empire. I'm starting to witness that those. Everything is burning in the face of Leenocks. And Leenocks, at this rate, he could afford a wonder. And that's the issue. DeMusliM right now can't afford much. He's in the bargain bucket. He's shopping at Poundland. He can't afford that three-course meal. And this slow army cannot gap close on anything. Everything is too fast. This movement speed is just too strong. 1.58 on those pass guards. The 2-foot cavalry are too fast. The double time, though, DeMusliM, it's all in. He wants to stop the keeps going up. He doesn't have the siege to deal with them, though. And this is the issue. DeMusliM, everything about his force is reactionary. Nothing screams brutality for keeps. There is no way for him to gain ground. And while he's addressing the fight here with a static force, guess what Leenocks doing? Knocking at your door. He wants to take your sister out for a dinner. And he's in again, and that's enough. Benny taps out. He's like, no way in hell. I can't believe it. Fire Lancers, they told me they were nerfed, but it ends up being the bane of his existence as Leenocks takes the win. Oh. Big Lee, you big beauty. What a play. What a way to play this. Consider the fact that the way this game began looked so dominant from DeMusliM. He had full map control. Like, he had over 2/3 of the map under his influence. He had double ball play. Everything was booming. The issue? He plays for these sacred sites. He plays for sacred sites on French Pass with a static force that can't react to both sides of the map. So his downside is that eventually when Leenocks pushes out, he's going to strong arm one side and you're going to be displaced. And Leenocks, I don't know, like, if he just sensed it because of the original board expansion. Thank you very much. But he plays towards the north side, understanding it's likely that Benny Boy is going to have to roll out those siege weapons slowly to the north side. It means that by the time he arrives with critical mass, he's going to have breached and start to decap that sacred side. The big issue for DeMusliM is he went too greedy. By going for this Imperial Age rush, he actually doesn't have a standing military force to easily hold those choke points. He also doesn't have the benefit of stone walls to just hide behind as easily as other civs. These 4 or 5 palisade walls are good initially, but the moment your opponent breaches Imperial Age and gets bombards, your fun time is over. And from that point on, Leenocks was in full swing. He was dancing. He was having a good time. He's Oppa Gangnam style in it as he easily takes the win in French Pass. What a play.